what's up, everyone? This is Vicente.
And this is Izzy.
And welcome back to the IV Podcast. And now on YouTube, this is our video format now. So for now on YouTube, we're going to start doing video podcasts. And we actually just open up Spotify. So yeah, audio version will be on Spotify. So Izzy, how do you feel about doing our first video podcast?
Nervous, but excited.
Yeah, because people that follow us on YouTube Shorts and TikTok know what we look like, especially friends and family, around us. But for those that just don't know us personally, what we look like, even though you see our face on YouTube Shorts and on TikTok.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what we look like. Sorry, I'm not handsome, ladies. I'm sorry. I'm a fugly dude. I'm just playing.
Not.
I know. I'm just playing shit. Okay, so the big topic in this room: will we ever cover Star Wars on this channel? And after days and days of talking over it with Izzy, and finally deciding, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit of a process. It's not something we're going to start right away, but we're still going to do it.
Yep. And so here's one of my biggest rules I've talked with Izzy. Because at first I didn't want to do it. Because I love Star Wars, but I just didn't want to do it. And people know why. But for those that are just joining us on our journey with this podcast, the reason why I didn't want to do it was just because I see a lot of hateful comments in the Star Wars community. And I get it. Every fandom has its own toxicity, people. Toxic fans and stuff like that. But I have never seen so much hate in the community like Star Wars. And I love Star Wars, But when Last Jedi came out, as far as I know, there was a lot of hate comments going towards Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and the actress that played Rose, and like, holy shit. And I get it. I love Star Wars. But it doesn't give you a right as a fan to go after these actors personally when it's not their fault.
Exactly. We don't want that hate on this channel either.
Yeah, I know. And so our rule is, and I swear to God, people, okay, here's our rule. If you have an opinion, that's fine. But if you see someone else's opinions that you don't agree with, you can respectfully disagree, but don't be racist. Don't be a misogynistic. Just don't be anything. Don't be an asshole. That's all we're asking of you guys. And I swear, if it's going to come to the point where people are going after each other or going after us for our own personal opinions, then we're just going to stop covering Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, but the reason why we started this podcast channel is because we want to make a cool page for everyone to hang out. All comic book fans, comic movie fans, horror fans, Star Wars fans, just any fandom in general. Well, maybe not like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, because I don't know crap about them. I'm sorry. I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I think Izzy has.
I've seen Game of Thrones, and I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I know about it.
Yeah, but that's our biggest rule, guys, And I get it. We all love these characters the same. We all do. We all have a passion. But it's never okay to come after someone or an actor just because they did something different that you hate. So yeah, we're going to do it now. When will we cover Star Wars? We're going to do it when we come back from our honeymoon in November, because we get married at the end of October. And then you want to explain this part?
Yeah. So we have our wedding at the end of October, and then a week after the wedding, we go for our honeymoon. So basically Halloween / beginning of November. And then after that, probably a week of adjusting, getting back to normal, we'll probably start recording again and hopefully start Star Wars.
Yep. And so just because for us, we love watching at first I did when I was younger. I love watching Star Wars during the Christmas time, because it just feels like it's such a holiday Christmas. Not like Christmas movie, just for some reason it feels perfect around the Christmas time. I see all these Christmas decorations with Star Wars. Hell, even our neighbor behind us has hella badass Christmas decorations. And we have a Grogu. I almost said Baby Yoda, and that probably was going to piss off someone. But yeah, we have a Grogu inflatable, and it's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to cover Star Wars in the beginning of November. But like I said, guys, please do not come out. If you come after us, we can handle it, but don't make it to the point where you're literally threatening people. And don't come after people. And we're going to have 3 strikes. If we keep seeing it, we're just going to stop it. We know what franchise we're going to cover if it comes to the point where we're going to stop doing Star Wars.
So, you guys just don't hate on it. People are going to have incorrect information, especially me. I love Star Wars, but I'm also not super informational about it, so I already know I'm gonna get stuff wrong.
Yeah,
I already apologize for that.
Let's just say she loves it, but let's just say it's because of Grogu.
It's because of Grogu and R2D2.
Yeah, but for me, I've read some Legends, canon stuff. I know a little bit about canon right now when it comes to Disney Star Wars, and so I love the Clone Wars. That was awesome. Rebels was okay. I never seen that. What was it called? Resistance or
Re-
like
yeah, Resistance.
yeah, that new Star Wars show that covered the sequel trilogy. Yeah, never seen that, but I know a good amount of Star Wars. Not like hardcore like a lot of people, but I do know a good amount of knowledge. Especially when it comes to Legends canon, because
Mm-hmm.
Legends Star Wars was fucking badass, and I loved it. Okay, so Izzy, let's get to our questions, shall we?
Yep.
Okay, when did we get into Star Wars? Izzy, you want to get into that?
Sure. So basically, when I started getting into Star Wars was in like one day over the summer. My dad decided to sit me and my brother down when we were old enough. And he just decided to start binging Star Wars with us. So I was probably about in my early teens, and so that's kind of when I started watching Star Wars. And we did it the way where we started with the prequel, the original, and that was out. That was all that was out when I first watched it.
Okay, yeah, okay, I respect that. For
Yeah.
me, what got me into Star Wars and how it started was one day my mom went to work and it was late at night, I believe, and my brother Victor was watching me. And there was nothing on TV, but I remember A New Hope was on, and I've never seen this is my first Star Wars movie I seen when I was a kid. A New Hope. It was on TV, and my brother Victor, just put it on, and said, "Hey, watch it." And ever since then, love the franchise. Luke was one of my favorites. Vader scared me as a fucking kid. Like, I mean, just seeing him, you don't know if he's a cyborg or a human. Vader used to give me nightmares as a kid. And after that, I wanted to watch Empire Strikes Back. And then it became Return of the Jedi. And then this is when movie rental places were a thing. People like
Mm-hmm.
Blockbuster and Hollywood Videos. Video stores where you can go rent movies, not just stream for my young audience.
Mm.
And then yeah, I would go to Blockbuster, have my mom rent the prequel movies, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and then funny enough, Revenge of the Sith came out on my birthday, May 19th. But I never watched Revenge of the Sith. My first Star Wars movie in theater was Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Yeah, which people are surprised when I say that, but just I was always kind of afraid to tell my mom and family that I was into Star Wars just because people would get picked on for liking shit like that. And I'm happy that Star Wars and other pop culture stuff are so big now. But then it kind of sucks because now it's like, well, where were you back then? Like you're the same people that bullied me and others for liking stuff like this, and now all of a sudden, but I can be an asshole like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just happy that a lot of stuff is getting the love it deserves now. And then, what is our favorite movie and why? Izzy, you want to go?
So for me, it's Phantom Menace. I know. It's it is what it is. No, honestly, I really like it because it's like it's the beginning of Star Wars. It's what starts off everything, and I love Qui-Gon. He's one of my favorites. I'm so sad we only got him for one movie, but yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we get some of his scenes in Clone Wars too in the TV show. But yeah, Liam Neeson as Qui Gon, fucking badass. Anything else you love about Phantom Menace?
I love young Anakin. I love that storyline, even though I know it goes. I know how it ends, but still.
Yeah, I mean, and for people that hate young Anakin, this is her opinion, so don't come after her about it. That people are different. It's okay to have different tastes. For me, my favorite movie is Return of the Jedi. Now, Return of the Jedi, I know Revenge of the Sith had a lot of emotion into it because it's Anakin versus Obi-Wan finally, but it's just something about Return of the Jedi that I just love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we finally get to see Emperor Palpatine, but it's just something about Luke trying to save Anakin, because he knows Anakin's still in there. And that's the thing with Vader. Vader has always been a conflicted Sith Lord. And if you read some of his comic runs right now, you can tell that he still struggles with being Anakin. He had a vision of him battling Obi-Wan on Mustafar, but how it ends is that Obi-Wan picks up Anakin and throws him in the lava, and Obi-Wan says, "Is this what you wanted me to do to you, Anakin?" And instead of Anakin coming out from the lava, Vader arrives, but that was just a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And even Vader has nightmares about, or I wouldn't say nightmares, but he even has dreams about him going back to being a Jedi and finally killing Palpatine and ruling the galaxy. So, and that's why I like Return of the Jedi, just because we get to see that conflict in Darth Vader, because he was Anakin and he's still the chosen one, but he's just been manipulated because, his love for Padme, he wanted to cheat death, and he can never save his mother. And so, when I watch the prequels, it just kind of adds more layers into Return of the Jedi that I appreciate, with the death of his mom Shimmy and the death of Padme. But then it makes it so much more wholesome is when his kids are finally the ones to bring him back into the light.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gives up his life to save Luke to kill the Emperor. Granted, I kind of hate how they retconned it and Rise of Skywalker, but you know what? That's gonna be another topic for another day.
Mm-hmm.
And then now our third question: what is our favorite trilogy? Izzy?
So you guys probably already know, but it's the prequel trilogy. I like the prequel trilogy. Everybody has their own opinions, but
Yeah, for me, it's gonna be original trilogy. That's the first one I grew up on. Thanks to my brother Victor for randomly putting on A New Hope when I was a kid. So for me, it goes original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and then the sequel trilogy. And I like each trilogy in their own unique ways. There's some things I love about the original trilogy more than the other ones, and then vice versa. There's some things I like about the sequel trilogy more than the other ones.
mm-hmm.
Just like the prequels too. And I have my pros and cons with each trilogy. But yeah, original. That's the one I grew up on and started with. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And then the fourth question: who are some of our favorite characters? Izzy, I already know your number one.
Who?
Grogu.
Okay. So it is Grogu, but if we're talking about characters from the movies, it's Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, okay, I like that.
Obi-Wan.
For me, I got five. I got five because it's hard to choose a number one for me. So my first one is Anakin, and my second one is Luke Skywalker. My third one is Obi-Wan Kenobi. My fourth one is Vader, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. Vader, and my fifth one is Mace Windu. And honorable mentions are Captain Rex, the Mandalorian, and then Grogu. So for me, I know people are like, but aren't Anakin and Vader the same people? Yes, they are technically, but for me, I kind of see it as different characters. It's the same body, but for me, Anakin represents the hero of the Republic, the general of the 501st Army. He's the light that's fighting the darkness for the Jedi Order. And then Vader represents just not death necessarily, but the death and destruction of the Jedi Order, because he was manipulated. And it's that depression, anger, and sadness that Vader is. So, in a way, I do consider Anakin and Vader two different people, even though it's the same body. And I know some people are like, oh, no, like Anakin was schizophrenic or anything like that. But that's just my opinion. I do consider Anakin and Vader two different people. I know some other people do. Izzy, anything else to add?
I will say that I agree. I mean, even though they aren't two separate people, they have two separate personalities. You can't say that Anakin from the prequel trilogy is the same as the one from the original.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same character, but they do act different.
Yes.
Because Anakin has his dark moments and anger, but at least Anakin still has that light side in him. Whereas the Vader is just kind of ruthless.
Exactly.
Like this man, let's just say it like this. Vader in the comics killed a woman who was in love with him, some random Imperial woman. I told Izzy this last night, all because she saw him with his mask off, and and Vader chokes her out with the Force, and Vader tells some stormtroopers, "Get this pile of trash out of my room." That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah,
and that goes to show that Vader's pretty scary. And there's even a comic shot where it has some rebellion soldiers surrounding Vader. And the rebels say that you're surrounded by us. And Vader says something along the lines like, no, you're trapped with me. And this dude just kills fucking thousands and thousands of rebellion soldiers. Like, Vader is powerful. And it sucks because if Anakin never lost his limbs and got burned on Mustafar, it's confirmed by George Lucas that Anakin would have been the most powerful being in the universe. And he would have killed Palpatine easily. But him as Vader, he's limited by cybernetic parts. His legs, he's limited by the Force. But he still has that anger that fuels his dark side power, and then people debated why didn't Darth Vader ever get a suit that kind of helped with his movement, like his flexibility. Vader wanted to, but at the same time, taking off Vader's suits was a big risk because they could have killed him. And he has an air ventilation thing that helps him breathe. But the suit was uncomfortable and it made him itchy, but that's what made Vader powerful because it pissed him off and it irritated him, and that just fuels his dark side. I know I just got off topic, but yeah, because I love the characters of Anakin and Vader, and I do consider them different people. Okay, and our last question: when is it the best time to watch Star Wars, Izzy?
So we kind of already answered this, but it's Christmas time.
Yeah, it's just something about it. And no, not because the holiday special, the Lego format, and a live action format from the 80s. It's just something about watching Star Wars during like the Christmas time that makes it so much cooler, because I see all these Christmas decorations with like the Millennium Falcon, Boba Fett ship, all this cool stuff. So for me, Star Wars is the best during Christmas.
Yeah. Plus, I think a lot, at least with the sequel trilogy, I think a lot of the movies came out around Christmas. And that would be like our traditional thing is to go watch the new Star Wars movie during Christmas time.
Yeah, I know we saw Rise of Skywalker like during the Christmas time. I
Yeah.
think like opening day
Yeah,
we went to go see it.
we dressed up and everything.
Well, she had a Kylo Ren Christmas sweater on.
Mhm.
I had my Finn jacket. Maybe I'll wear that when we cover the Star Wars,
Mhm.
all the Star Wars franchise movies. But yeah, for us, like we said, Christmas time is the best time to watch it.
Yep.
Okay, so now that we covered if we'll ever cover Star Wars on a podcast, we're gonna do something a little bit more fun. We asked on our social medias and some people in person some questions you want to ask us because our first episode we kind of talked about how we met and that story. If you haven't seen our first episode, please watch it. It is funny as hell.
It's juicy.
Yeah, it's a lot. If you're a nosy chismoso or a nosy chismosa, you'll like it. For those that don't know me, I do speak a little Spanish, but not good, but just enough to get by.
If you like tea, watch it.
Yeah. Okay, so questions we've been asked. The first one that we've been asked a lot: Would you and Izzy have met if you never dated her friend? Izzy, what do you think?
I think we would have, whether it be probably some type of movie premiere. I think we would have met.
I do think so. I think, and I hate saying it, I think maybe through like a dating app. And for those that don't know me personally, I hate dating apps. When I was single, before I met her friend, I used Tinder and like Bumble and that stuff. I hated dating apps because for me, I'd rather just kind of meet someone in person, like just happening, like at like some event, not like at a bar necessarily, but just like at an event, like a city event or like a parade, just because I feel like that's the best because it's kind of like on the spot a little bit. Whereas on the internet, you can just fucking fake who you are. I mean, look at Catfish the show.
Yeah.
You can literally catfish someone giving you hella money and they'll never know who you are. So yeah, I just hated dating apps and I used it for a while back then. And then I think like after 2 months, I was like, this is just stupid. If I'm going to meet someone, I'd rather just meet, in person. Because she had like maybe 2 or 3 dates off a dating app and they were just bad. It was just kind of awkward, because you talk a lot of stuff, a big game on a dating app and stuff like that. But then when it comes to person, you kind of just freeze up.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to talk shit on anyone who uses a dating app. Let's just get that out of the way. But it's a little weird. If you have any opinions on it, Izzy?
I mean, I never used a dating app. I never had a reason to. But I mean, I think it serves its purpose for certain kinds of people. But I think meeting people and dating people the organic way is the best way to go in a relationship.
Yeah, and I know I sound hella old-fashioned, but you know what? I'm a kid at heart, but I also have some old-fashioned ways of thinking.
Yep.
And then the second question we've been asked a lot: how did you feel about each other the first time you met? Izzy, you want to go?
So, I mean, if you guys haven't already watched our first episode, I was friends with her and he was her boyfriend at the time, so I was just excited to meet her new boyfriend. But I really liked him as a friend at the time just because of how nice, how outgoing, how nerdy he was, because at that point in my life, I had nobody to like nerd out with. No one understood my love of horror in general. Everybody thought it was weird or just didn't understand. So it was really nice to meet someone who understood me.
Yeah, and the first time we met, and disclaimer before we get more into it, just like we said in our first episode, we're not going to mention the names of any ex. Even though there's 2 exes, they know who they are. Mm-hmm. One of them watches this podcast. 2 of them I'm like really good friends with, and Izzy understands. Izzy knows.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that she can trust me enough to like be friends with just 2 exes, But I'm not gonna say any names just out of respect. Even though 2 of them I'm cool with, I'm just not saying names just out of respect. And they appreciate it. They actually texted me the first time we started and said like, "Hey, thank you for not mentioning." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. Aww. It's just privacy,
Exactly.
It's just being respectful. Yeah. That's all it is. You don't want to say a name and then they start bugging them and bothering them. So yeah, don't even try. People that know me personally, you're gonna know who I'm talking about. But please just don't bug anyone.
Yeah.
That's why we're gonna try not to say names unless they're comfortable. Oh, and how did I feel when I first met Izzy? She was shy. Like the first time we ever really, really met was I was at my ex's house and she came by to drop off something. And so I met Izzy and we didn't hug, but it was more like a handshake.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and then I talked to my ex. I was like, oh, she seems like a cool person, And so my ex, I almost said her name, damn. And so she was talking to me a little bit about Izzy and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I think like a week later, I was going to go to my ex's house. And she says, hey, Izzy, and do you think I could say the other friend's name?
Just say Tori.
Yeah, Tori. Yeah, so So my ex texted me saying, "Hey, Tori and Izzy are on their way to hang out at my house. Do you mind?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem, whatever, you know." And so I get to my ex's house and everyone's there. But the thing is that my ex, I don't want to say she faked being a fan of a lot of stuff, but I can just kind of tell when someone's bullshitting me, which is no problem. I think my biggest problem is that when you act like you know a lot of stuff about certain pop culture and stuff, it like don't try to impress anyone. That's my thing. That's why I even said that I know a good amount of Star Wars, but not like crazy like some people. You know, I know a little bit more about Legends canon than I do main canon.
Mm-hmm.
Besides from some comic books I see on the internet, you know, or even just channels talking about it. But yeah, and then I just kind of clicked it off with Izzy. You know, I thought she was cool. I thought, you know, she was pretty, not in a that type of way before anyone thinks, you
Yeah.
know. It was just more of like, oh, a compliment type of thing.
Exactly. Everything was platonic at the time, okay?
Yeah, you know, like even me and Izzy now, we can compliment other people without it being like sexual. Just
Yeah.
like, you know, like there's times where like I'll say, oh, that dress looks good on that girl, and she'll be like, oh, hey, you know, that guy looks good in the haircut. And I'll
Mhm.
agree. We know our boundaries. We know we have our trust and we
Yeah.
have our love. If we didn't trust each other, then we wouldn't be dating.
Mhm.
Okay, so back to what I was saying. Yeah, and then I saw that Izzy. I mentioned something about DC, and she hopped on. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is cool. And then I was like, what's your favorite DC show? And she said Teen Titans and Young Justice. I was like, oh, that's badass. And so we were talking about that, blah 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 and stuff. And then we got into Marvel, and then she only really watches the Marvel movies. I know a lot about Marvel comics. You know, my
Mhm.
favorite storyline being the Civil War and the triumphant storyline with Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange. I posted on my TikTok earlier about it. You know, so we were just having fun with it, blah 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 and stuff like that. And we are just hitting it off, and I'm like, damn, she's a cool person.
Mhm.
But then it kind of, I can see from the corner of my eye that it was making my ex jealous. But the problem is that my ex, she never really knew how to communicate, and she was just never really honest at the time.
Yeah, she didn't tell us about any of the issues she was having. That was the most ridiculous part, is she didn't tell us how she was feeling, so we thought what we were doing was fine. And plus, we both of us were very conscious of what we were saying and how we were talking. I think we even literally had a group chat between the three of us, and that would be the only time we would talk to each other.
Oh yeah, I think the only time we ever really texted separately was because she gave you my Snapchat, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like okay, this is where it's gonna get funny. So she gives me my ex gives Izzy my Snapchat just because in case she ever needs to get a hold of me or some bullshit like that.
Yeah.
And I posted on my story, and because we love the Jurassic Park franchise. You know, if you watch our podcast, we've been covering it for a while.
Mhm.
And so I recently just bought the Jurassic Park Blu-ray set, and I was like, "Who's down to do a movie marathon?" And she replied to my story saying, "Dude, I love that franchise." And so we were nerding out with Jurassic Park, and it was fun, you know. And then you want to explain this movie thing?
So basically, it was all fun, and we both knew consciously, like we knew we wouldn't be able to just be the two of us. So like the first time we even started talking about it, I'm like, hey, let's talk to Sarah about this. Like this was like one of like the first texts after we were geeking out, and hey, let's we can all have a movie night at our house.
Babe, you said the name. It's okay. We're gonna somehow
I will
okay.
bleep that out.
Yeah, you gotta bleep it. Yeah.
I do. I'll bleep it
Okay. Yeah. X. Damn it.
out. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're good. Yeah.
The one who
it's-
shall not be named.
yeah. She shall not be named. She'll know how to bleep it out. We'll put beep or we'll
Yeah.
make it quiet. But yeah. Yeah. And then my ex texted me. You know, and I text my ex. I'm like, hey, you know, would you be down to do like a movie marathon? You know, she's like, yeah, sure. But then she found out I texted Izzy about it, and she was tripping out. She was getting mad, acting like we were planning stuff without her. I'm like, not really. We kind of just asked. I asked if you wanted to do a movie marathon and stuff. You know, we didn't really plan on doing it without you. That was a stupid thing to do. And ever since then, she was getting on her ass and accusing us. Like, dude, okay, Izzy may be like pretty, she may be cool, but I'm not like that.
Yeah, it was such a weird thing because I sort of understood where she was coming from because this was all very new to her at the time, but like she just freaked out way too much.
Yeah, and so just to get back to our question, how do we feel about each other? I thought she was cute. Yeah, I thought she was fucking awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm with her now. That should be something, you know. And then number three, what were our biggest worries at first when we started dating? Izzy, you want to go first?
Um okay, out of honesty, I was really worried just about how all of my friends and family would take it just because of how we met. And that is just because I'm a person who has a lot of morals, and I didn't want to be painted as a bad guy of stealing someone's boyfriend, which is not what happened. But if you don't listen to the story correctly, then that's how it seems. And that was like my biggest fear when we first got together.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
For me, and I think you already know it, because the people that are really close to me, including family and friends, they know how much of kind of like a punk ass I was back then, just an angry asshole,
Mm-hmm.
and thanks to my mentor, Robert, Missy Robert, you know, before I met him, I wasn't a happy person.
Mm-hmm.
And I regret this. I moved on from it and I forgive myself. But back then, I cheated on my high school sweetheart. Granted, she cheated first, but it still doesn't make it right. And so when I hear once a cheater, always a cheater, I don't really believe it because I'm an example of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I cheated the first time my high school sweetheart, I swore I would never do it again. But it still bugged me because it's like for the longest time I kept thinking I was a piece of shit. I don't deserve love. I don't deserve no one. And so that kind of factored in the whole like I don't like, not really wanting to date people and stuff. And I had other stuff going on, I was just mad at a lot of people. And so, before I met Izzy, thankfully with my mentor Robert, I was able to forgive myself and let go of a lot of anger, sadness, depression, and just darkness I held in my heart. And then I met Izzy, and I wanted to be honest with Izzy. And she asked me, I'm going to ask you something, Vicente, and I want you to be honest. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, go ahead. And she asked me, have I ever cheated? And I could have done one or two things, one of these options. The first one, I could have just looked like a saint, be like, no, I never cheated, and risk her finding out from someone like a family or friend. And then I'll have her explain how she would have felt if she found out and I never told her, like late into our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, I could just be a man and admit my mistakes. And I remember what Robert told me, something along the lines like, you have to be honest with yourself if you can truly love yourself. And I love that quote. And I'm gonna say it again. If you can't be honest with who you are and your mistakes and your accomplishments, then you'll never be able to learn how to love others or yourself. And I told Izzy, yes, I have. Am I going to justify it? No. Did she do it first? Yeah. Did it make it right? No. And so my biggest worry is that, fuck, she's going to think I'm going to do it. And Izzy, how did you feel when I told you?
I mean, I felt kind of surprised because he didn't seem like a guy who would cheat because he has a lot of like high morals and like he values relationships. So I didn't think he would ever cheat. But when he explained where he was and the thinking of where he was at the time, I could slightly understand why. Not that it gave him like a pass on it, but I could understand why.
And I'm glad I told Izzy because it helped that trust build into it to where I'm able to talk to like females just platonically, just
Mm-hmm.
normal, even like, she even knows I have female coworker friends, like my coworker friend Dow. Dow, if you're watching this, what's up? And Enrique, the Mexican Alan Grant. Enrique, I'm giving you your shout out now. And Johnny, Jelly, Jose, Gabe, and David, you guys are getting your shout out on video. But yeah, Dow, she's my homegirl at work. She works a different shift now. It sucks. And she'll see me text, just my female friends, and she can trust me. And that's what makes it awesome. And now, Izzy, how would you have felt if you found out I did cheat, like on my high school sweetheart from someone else, and I never was honest with you about it?
I mean, I think I would have been really pissed and really felt like not trustworthy of you at all because it's like, okay, if you're hiding this, what else are you hiding? What else in your past are you hiding that I should know about?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? And I don't blame her for thinking that way because if you can't be honest with others, then you're not gonna be able to love and have a relationship.
Mhm.
And our biggest three things when it comes to relationships are communication, trust, and loyalty.
Mhm.
If you can't do any of those three, don't even fucking date.
Yep.
Because I love Izzy and I trust her. I never feel a point to look through her phone, and she never feels to look through my phone. I mean, and we even give each other's phones for a day, and we wouldn't be worried.
Yeah.
Like there's times where, like I told her, like, hey, she knows my passcode. She can go through it whenever she wants.
Mhm.
Like there's even times where I tell her, like, hey, babe, can you go through my phone and remind me of a number, something like that? Just
Yeah.
like she'll give me her phone when I need to go do something or fix something on her app.
Yep.
And the trusting, it helps when I was able to tell her about my past, some things I
Mhm.
regret doing. Most notably the cheating on my high school sweetheart.
Mhm.
And it helped build that trust.
Exactly.
And then communication. In the beginning, Izzy, you want to explain the communication?
Okay, so I'm just gonna put this off that this is my like first real relationship. So I was still trying to figuring out how communication in a relationship works. So I was very much of a worrywart, we'll say that. And I was texting him all the time. If he didn't answer me after like 3 or 4 hours, I would worry. Not and it wasn't worrying as in what is he doing? Is he cheating on me? It wasn't that. It was more worried about like his safety, like something bad happened to him. And so that's kind of where it would be. So it kind of got annoying to him probably about like 6 months to a year in, and I can totally understand that now. Trying to calm someone down like that, it can be exhausting, so I totally understand.
And I would never get mad at her per se, because I am her first real relationship. And the thing is that because I get busy with the work at my previous job, I would just come home tired and stressed out from my previous job, and I would like to go work out at the gym just to burn off that stress, or even just game or read a book, or take a small nap, just time to myself. And I was kind of bad at like saying that, but one day we just kind of talk about it. I'm like, hey babe, like, look, I love you. But you gotta understand that sometimes when I don't talk for a little bit, it's because I am busy, and I try to do a good job of letting her know. And she has my location, I have her location, not because I don't trust her, but just because like there's times where I do forget to text her like, hey, I made it to this place, and she'll just check up to see if I made it, and just like with her, she'll sometimes forget that they text me that she made it somewhere, and I'll just look, and there's nothing wrong with having each other's locations as long as it's not for like as if it's for paranoia, just to check up on them.
Yeah, it kind of just eases my mind that I'm just able to make sure, like, hey, he's okay. He made it to work. I don't have to worry about that, especially when we have like really bad weather. That's when I worry the most.
Yeah, and so like I said, it's a whole 3 rule: communication, trust, and loyalty. You can't do any of them. Don't even date.
Yep.
All right, and now down to our last question. It is, what is our favorite thing about each other?
Aww.
Yeah, that I know. My David, my homeboy David Nunes from work, he asked me like, "What do you guys really like about each other?" Because even David can see how in love we are. Even Jeff can. Jeff Olay, thank you. He was our ghost face and our engagement photos. If you don't follow us on our social media, please do. We have them linked in our about us page on YouTube. But yeah, shout out to Jeff Olay for being our ghost face in our engagement photos. But yeah, Izzy, what is your favorite thing about me?
I think my favorite thing about you is how understanding and just all the nerdiness about you and how you're able to like understand that part of me, and I'll be able to always have that connection with you no matter where we are in life.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Makes me happy that just because like back then I was never really an understanding person. I was an asshole. I'm just gonna say I was an asshole. But thanks, like I said, thanks to my mentor Robert, and thanks to Izzy too, because Izzy helped me with certain things and move on from stuff. I was able to finally be an understanding person. Am I a lovable asshole? Am I, Izzy? Be honest. Sometimes. But Izzy knows that I'm only an a-hole if someone really needs it. Yeah. But I only do it out of love. Like Izzy even says, like, I'm kind of like Butch from The Boys. Just not.
You are.
Not like being like an asshole, but just like tough love. Or if you want to explain the tough love part.
We'll do the tough love. Like especially when like we're asking if I need his opinion on something, and like I need his genuine opinion. Sometimes his stuff can hurt, but at the same time, I'm glad he can be honest and give me that tough love I need to understand the situation.
Yeah, and just like our friend Erica, what's up? I don't want to say too much of her personal stuff, but she's asked for my opinions before, just like friends and coworkers ask for my opinion, about dating stuff or how me and Izzy do it. I'll be honest. I'll be like, sometimes it's not easy. No relationship is perfect. No. We're going to get that out of the way. And when I tell people that me and Izzy have never argued, they don't believe it, or they're like, wait, how? I'm all like, just because, and it goes back to the communicating part. If I'm having a bad day from work or just stressed out from something, I'll tell Izzy, I'm like, look, can I just get 30 minutes to an hour to myself, and I'll go game, or I'll go to the gym and read a book, and I'll come back and we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And vice versa with Izzy. If she's having a bad day, I'll just give her space. And we'll talk about it later. It's our love we have for each other, because I hate arguing. I know she hates arguing. Before, I used to argue with a lot of people, but arguing is just a waste of time to me.
And it's not saying we never go back back and forth an opinion, but that's more of a debate rather than an argument.
Yeah, like she'll ask for my opinion on something, and sometimes we'll debate on it, but it never comes to the point where it's a full fledged argument.
Yeah, it's not like a screaming match. We've never had that.
Yeah, and like I'll tell her, or she'll tell me like, look, I'm going to the other room. We're gonna talk about this shit in an hour.
Yep.
And then, but usually, even by like 20 minutes, like, hey, babe, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's just stuff like that.
We kind of just come back. Okay, we're good.
And now, what's my favorite thing about Izzy? I got a cat too. My second one is just how she can be herself around me. It's awesome. Like, it goes back to the nerding out part when it comes to horror. Like, whenever we watch a horror movie, we love just laughing at like the deaths, not like that. Let's get that out of the way. Just like the practical effects and stuff like that. Just like even like when it comes to Jason movies and the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, just the funny ways, the funny creative kills. We'll laugh at that, or just like how dumb and cheesy some movies can be, like Thanksgiving. As much as we hate Thanksgiving, it's a funny ass movie to look at. Or even just we're watching like Marvel movies or DC movies, we're geeking out together.
Mm-hmm.
We're rewatching the Flash TV show. As you can see from my hoodie, I love the Flash. She's my second favorite DC hero. The first one being Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just because the Flash TV show is ending, and I think 3 or 4 more weeks, I want to rewatch it again. And Izzy's never really seen it like that, so we're rewatching it. But yeah, it's the geeking out stuff and just her being herself, like, around me, and that's what I appreciate, because a lot of relationships sometimes and most of the time people really can't be themselves around each other, and you have to find that someone, even though you think your Prince Charming or your perfect girl is someone that has a big butt or a big rack or a guy with 6-packs, and that's all fine. That's perfectly fine. I'm not hating on anyone. Let's just get that. I will never body shame anyone, but sometimes the perfect guy in your head may not be the perfect guy. For me, you have to find someone that is willing to let you be yourself and not judge you, and vice versa. You have to let them be themselves and not judge them. Like Izzy will say things, someone like, what the fuck? But I'll laugh at it. I don't ever judge it. I'll make fun of her, yeah, but she'll make fun of me too.
Yeah.
Like when I'm watching one of my favorite, like when I'm watching like some movie she never seen, like, I showed her the Friday movies, she'll laugh with me and stuff like that. Or she'll just laugh at like stuff she never really watches, like Blood In, Blood Out. I'll watch clips on it.
Yeah.
And she'll listen to me watch some clips. She's like, what the fuck? And I want to show her Blood In, Blood Out. Just like movies that I grew up watching that she's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes me happy to know that she won't judge me just because of my sense of humor.
Yeah.
And so, but I think like the one thing that's my favorite thing about her is the fact that she's not judgmental. And that she's just, I'm trying to think of a good way to say she's not judgmental, and she was understanding at first. The main reason how I fell in love with her and gave her that ring was because it was the first year we were dating. She was having a family Christmas party. Sorry if I'm looking down. I'm trying to like think. I'm not good at looking at the camera.
We'll get there.
Yeah, yeah, but this is just a test run. But yeah, so it was the first year we were dating, and it was December, and Izzy wanted me to meet her family. They're having a small Christmas party on her mom's side of the family. And I told her, yeah, sure, I'll go. But then my coworker and my mentor, Robert, he had cancer. And I'm a big Niner fan. I love the Niners. Let's go Niners. Fuck the Cowboys and Raiders. Pretty sure Raymond and Isaiah and Peter will love that. And so it was a big game. They're playing against the Rams, and this is the push for the number 1 seed in the NFC. This is the season they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs and lost, unfortunately. But I'm always going to hold this game close to my heart. It's because Robert texted me, he's like, hey, do you want to come? And it was a Saturday. He texted me saying, hey, do you want to come over and watch the Niner game with me? And we're never promised another day. That's what my mom has always told me. We're never promised another day. And so I'm like, fuck, I want to go, but I have this thing with Izzy. And I chose Robert just because I want to spend as much time with him as I can before, because you never know. Mm-hmm. You just never know. I texted Izzy, and I'm like, babe, Robert invited me to go over to his house and watch the game with him and Chella. I'm sorry, I can't make it. I was afraid because I'm like, fuck, she's going to freak out. She's going to get mad. It's going to be this argument. And this is where I instantly knew she was the one. She texted me saying, babe, you go spend time with Robert. That's fine. You can always see my family another day. You're never promised another day with Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the day I started looking at rings. Yeah, and yeah, I never told Robert I was going to propose to her. But I think in a way he knew because he saw me looking at rings and he just laughed at me. More like a nice acknowledgement laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my favorite things about her. Not judgmental. She could be herself around me, and just the fact that she's understanding because she knew I have problems, and I would talk to her about how things I felt like just not trigger. I hate saying triggers, but just like pet peeves of mine. To where it's like if you're gonna be busy or you can't make a date, just let me know, and I have no problem with that. My biggest problem and my biggest pet peeve is when, and this falls into the communication, is when you say you're down to do it, but then you're either late or you don't want to do it, and you just don't tell me. Like you don't tell me right away. It's like that's gonna annoy the fuck out of me. And it goes with family and friends too. If you say you're gonna do this, if you're gonna be late or you can't do it, just tell me, but don't tell me last minute because then I could have planned for other stuff to do. And so it's awesome that Izzy's like that. And what's funny is that when we do stuff for her side of the family, we're there on time. This is the funny thing, Izzy, if you want to explain your part.
So with my family, we always plan stuff probably at least a few weeks to a month ahead of time, especially on my mom's side. On my dad's side, it's a little wishy-washy, but my mom's side is always on time, usually a month plan ahead of time. So there's that. But then when we started going to your family events,
all right, I'll explain this. So let's just say it like this. For us Latinos, when we say, hey, we're going to start at 3, we probably mean like 4 or 5. We're going to be a little late. And so when we first started dating, Izzy was like, babe, we're going to be late. I'm all like, babe, we're Mexican. We're usually when someone says 3, so when someone says a time, they mean like an hour later.
Yeah.
And it works out. And so like Izzy's grown to understand that. And I did too. With her side of the family, we're being there on time. But when it comes to my family, it's okay if you're like a little late, because everyone's going to be a little late.
Leave the house at the time they tell us to be there.
I mean, we're not showing up. We're not showing up like fucking 5 hours late. Yeah.
No.
Just, with my side of the family, it could be like a little like 30 minutes to an hour late sometimes too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for our first video episode. We hope you guys like it. We're going to start doing these. These are actually really, really fun. So you guys get to see our emotions, smile, and laughter, our genuine reaction to stuff, not just bullshitting over audio and stuff like that. So yeah, video will be for YouTube, audio will be for Spotify, and as always, thank you for giving our little podcast a chance. It's amazing that we started this thing, what was it, at the end of March?
Yeah, no, end of February.
Yeah, at the end of February. At the end of February, and now we're at like 367 subscribers. And so many, like what, 3 months later?
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. And we love every single one of you. Thank you for giving our channel a chance. We can't wait to grow bigger and see how far this takes us. And for my people from TikTok, thank you for watching this. That want to know if we're ever going to cover Star Wars. Yes, we'll cover Star Wars later on in the year in November. But like I said, that big rule, if people are going to be misogynistic, racist, or just an asshole in general, well, we're going to know if you're just trolling or legit being an a-hole. We're going to know. And so if it's going to come to that point, we're just going to stop doing it and do a backup franchise. Yep. And we don't want to because we want to cover Star Wars. I love talking Star Wars with a lot of people, but I know who I can and can't talk to. But yeah, as always, take care of each other and take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.
Bye, guys.